Mike's taking your word for it.
All right, I'd like to call the public hearing to order. On our agenda today, we have an intergovernmental agreement ordinance for behavioral health. And in order to present, I would like to turn it over to Ronna Hinton, the Director of Human Services, in order to describe what this potential partnership with BHARP would look like in conjunction with Attorney Johnson, the DHS attorney.
So I'm Ronna Tipton. I'm the Director of Human Services for Forest and Warren counties. And just a brief background of what this is. So Health Choices was created in 1996. It is a Medicaid program which pays for mental health services for individuals receiving medical assistance. Warren is part of a 23-county state option zone, which was created back in 2007. The state option was taken with these 23 counties, which means the state holds the contract with the managed care organization, not directly with the counties. The state is currently giving us the option to get out of that current contract situation and contract directly with the state, which is a benefit in many areas, and I'll talk about those in a second. So we are looking at managing that contract directly. When the 23 county consortium was created, the state created what's called BHARP. It's the Behavioral Health Alliance of Rural Pennsylvania, which was an administrative entity to oversee the managed care organization and ensure that the counties had some responsibilities and oversight of that contract with the managed care organization. So they were kind of a go-between between managed care and the counties. What we are looking to do is to have the state, Department of Human Services, contract with the BHARP organization and work with the counties as their board of directors to manage this contract for the 23 counties. I know this is very confusing, so if you have questions, please ask. So what this process is called the first right of opportunity. So we are looking to take that first right of opportunity, and by doing so, we have to have an intergovernmental agreement and an ordinance passed by the Board of Commissioners to approve that first right of opportunity process that we are looking to take. So Health Choices, one of the benefits of doing this is what's called reinvestment, which is the revenue that is retained by the managed care organization as they essentially pay the bills for individuals who receive mental health services. Since the fiscal year 2008-2009, $19.6 million has been used for reinvestment services in our 23 county area. What we have seen in Forest and Warren counties specifically is, so there's kind of a list here, I'll just go through it. We have brought in mental health outpatient, parent-child interaction therapy, it's a specialized therapy, drug and alcohol rehabilitation, drug and alcohol recovery housing, the Decision Support Center, which is housed at the Recovery Center. Both of those are new services. The Recovery Center is the large area where Beacon Light is housed, Forest and Warren Mental Wellness Association, and part of, Rams Bottom is out of Bradford. So it houses two agencies within that recovery center. Supportive living, certified peer specialists, community stabilization and reintegration unit with Beacon Light, short-term adolescent recovery, dual diagnosis treatment team, psychiatric rehabilitation, drug and alcohol case management, and certified recovery specialists. Now, not all of those services are specifically housed in Warren County or Forest County, but those services are available to residents of those counties. So we have seen many projects brought to this area by the reinvestment out of Health Choices in general. The other benefits of bringing or taking the first right of opportunity include the fact that We will have more transparency with the actual contract with the managed care organization. We'll be able to see what their financials actually look like rather than working with an insurance company. We'll be able to negotiate rates directly with the Department of Human Services, which is definitely a benefit. Currently, with the retained revenue, the reinvestment funding, we receive about 2% at $19.6 million. We would be able to receive up to the 3%, which obviously is a benefit for us to receive more funding. We would have more local control over the contract and what services we need to look at and identify here for Warren County. And there is no financial risk to the county. There was concern early on that there is a financial risk, but there is no financial risk to the counties. That will be taken on by the managed care organization. And another large benefit is the fact we will have control over the network. Currently, the managed care organization has control of the network and it's closed. So what that means is that Amy is a new provider and she wants to create a new service and bring it here and provide therapy to individuals. Because the network is closed, she can't provide services to Medicaid patients. We would have more control over that and be able to bring in providers. If we want to, we can close the network, we can open the network, we can do what we want to do. So this is a huge benefit for those areas that we lack provider services in. So one of the negatives that we have considered is we don't really know what this is going to look like, and there will be more responsibilities on the counties to manage our role in the contract, and we're not entirely certain what that's going to look like. So that's it in a brief nutshell, what first right of opportunity looks like from the human services side of what we're looking to do. Any questions?
Can I say something?
Certainly.
So I worked as a solicitor for Human Services, Ray Johnson, and I was just going to give you more of an idea background rather than the detail that Ronna did, because I can't manage all that detail. She knows it. Under 1966 Pennsylvania statute, the counties have the obligation to provide mental health services to our population. So we're required to do that, but the dollars are federal, so they come from the federal Department of Human Services, and now we have a State Department of Human Services and a local, so I would identify all those three as being different. So there's always a tension between the state's requirements imposed as the divvier up of the federal dollars to the counties and our obligations under state law and under the funding laws. This proposition where, so in 1996, as Ronna said, beginning I think in 1997, the state carved up regions of the Department of Human Services and Department of Public Welfare in Harrisburg, carved up the state into different regions, and some regions were allowed to do what we're asking to do now. Back then, they have been implementing their own direct contracts with managed care for behavioral health services. That's mental health services and drug and alcohol services. Our region of 23 north central counties, and I have a list if anybody wants to know what those counties are, specifically didn't get that. And there's a typo in Ronna's statement. We have had the state option, so the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services has been contracting directly with our managed care organization. We have not. We were all ready to do what we're doing now in 2007, but our region wasn't chosen to do it. So we created BHARP back then, and BHARP has had a limited role since 2007. It's kind of been monitoring the state contract with CCBH, our managed care organization, that Harrisburg picked for us. Ironically, this provides more local control over our behavioral health services, which we haven't had. So I think in that sense, from a sort of a big picture view, it's good in the detail that Ronna just provided to us. So there will be another layer, but it's our layer of organization, and that's BHARP. And all of our county administrators are on the board of directors of that nonprofit corporation. And it's been set up for a while, trying to monitor the contracts, but it's sort of ready to do it. So The steps, the legal steps are that we need a county ordinance to enable the commissioners to sign an intergovernmental agreement with the other 22 counties in the North Central Zone. And then we can contract with VHARP, and VHARP can contract with the state. It's a house of cards, but these are the steps required. I am aware that Forest County is intending to join as well. All the 23 counties in the North Central Zone plan to join, so no one's on holdout. Okay. Questions to Ronna, not to me, but.
Oh, there isn't, may I?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so BHARP has joined with Beacon Light in many of the counties, and one of the programs that they have is the STARS program in Bradford. Would Beacon Light, you said that private providers can also come in now, because you can have more local control over it. So would it be, I just think it would be wonderful if we could have more providers than just Beacon Light at this time.
Short-term adolescent recovery.
Yes.
Over in
Bradford, yes. Is that something that Bradford picked, is what I'm saying, or is it something that BHARP?
It's a program that Beacon Light created.
Yes.
And was approved by the Community Care, which is essentially the insurance company.
Right.
Because they came in and are in network, it's an approved service. If Amy's program came in now and had a STAR program, it would not be allowed to come in because the network is closed. This is one of the not so good things about the current system.
Correct, yes,
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. We could have more like play therapy, we could have different areas of interest for local
Correct. families.
One thing that they do down in the more urban areas is what's called a de-escalation team. And they come into the homes or group homes, whatever areas, and they can de-escalate before there is a need for police or that type of intervention. They also do trainings as well. So you could locally take different thoughts and areas of the public or your need that you have right now, and you can locally decide what is necessary in this area. And so BHARP would not be the choosers.
BHARP isn't choosing now, but there's a mechanism for what you're talking about now anyway, and I think it would exist after this change. And that is that there can be special projects, plans, programs promoted for the reinvestment dollars. Okay, so
Wonderful.
So Ronna went through a lot of different programs throughout the region that have been implemented with the reinvestment dollars, and the de-escalation program, things that we're talking about might qualify for those. Of course, they're competitively distributed, so we would be looking for those monies along with other county programs in our 23 county consortium.
Great.
It's not necessarily all going to come to us, but you should talk to some folks after this meeting about your ideas.
Just to address it slightly more specifically, we are currently looking at a proposal for mobile crisis with 8 other counties. We have reinvestment funding. We are pushing it forward, looking at that currently. So.
Wonderful, and I think it's great. There's some downsides that we didn't join back in 1996 or when this first started, but I think it's wonderful that you can also look back and see what has worked in other counties, especially as rural
Correct.
as we are, because that's a huge hindrance to us as families is the transportation. And when you're looking at mobile crisis, you're also looking at time when you can get there and everything. But thank you.
Yes.
These counties are all rural and address a lot of those same issues.
Yes.
Yes. I
I wasn't even here for this purpose, but I'm glad I am. Will it give the county more control over the types of residents we take in at the RTF?
Not necessarily, because the criteria to meet eligibility for that program is still going to be the same. Licensing and regulation won't necessarily change. And it's
Right.
also provider specific, because the provider needs to determine whether the individual meets the criteria, if that particular individual meets the milieu, is an individual.
Maybe you misunderstood, because often they change the demographic of population they want to house. So do they choose, or would that give the county some more teeth in what type of?
I think you're talking about something different.
Okay.
I think that
So
is
no.
a provider determining what services their facility is going to provide. We're talking about insurance dollars, Medicaid dollars funneled through our managed care organization. So we're talking about funding different programs. That RTF, for example, could have children from different counties.
They do.
Different eligibility,
Right.
different insurances.
So it doesn't give us
private
control
insurances,
over the types
Not
of
a provider.
services offered in?
No.
Okay.
In particular,
Not
by a particular
necessarily.
provider, not necessarily.
Okay.
Very good. For the record, that last comment was Amy Stewart.
Basically, we'll just, the long and short is it's going to cut out CCDH as the middleman.
No, it would add BHAR as the middleman,
Instead of
better controlled by our counties because we have representation. We can negotiate rates better with the state for our services. And BHAR might not contract with CCDH. Community Care Behavioral Health is our current managed care organization that the state is contracted with, but we could pick Value or
There will be an
CCDH
RFP
or
put out,
others.
request for proposal.
So BHAR will look at the best provider for managed care based on our criteria. Did that answer your question?
And that was Connie Zafino. Ma'am, could we have your name for the record?
Ashley Spicer?
Ashley Spencer, thank you very much. Are there any other public comments or questions? Ma'am?
I'm kind of new to all this, but I was wondering, you said that you're going to have more local control of programs, and you also have the drug and alcohol programs through the behavioral health and case management and stuff. And I wonder why the drug and alcohol program, so the Suboxone program, isn't initiated with the behavioral health, because those people have to go get therapy through this program. And I don't know why behavioral health doesn't work with them. They seem to be taking off people's medication when they find out they're on the Suboxone program. And I've talked to Suboxone doctors, and they said that there's a big, huge division between the mental health and this program. And I've heard this program is not allowed even in Warren. People are going to Bradford and Erie to get help. And if we're to help these people with drug and alcohol that also have mental issues and need help, how can we join the two to help? Because a short story in May, well, a year before that, my niece had a breakdown finally in life. She was 30 at the time. And she went to a place in Erie to a psychiatrist and took kinds of tests and got help. And she also told her how she took her husband's Vicodin and she was self-medicating. And he would lock them up, but she would figure out how to get them. So she was admitting to her psychiatrist she had this addiction problem. So after she got her medication from the psychiatrist, she went to the Suboxone program in Erie and got on that. And 2 months later, she went to the pharmacist to pick up her medications from the mental health program, and they were all shut off. And so she had to go to her psychiatrist in panic, and she had to choose which program to help her. And because of her addiction to those Vicodins, she turned to the heroin that was in Erie. And one night she went to an awful dive place of what we found out and got what was called Carfinelli, I think it's pronounced. It's an elephant tranquilizer, and it was all white powder. And I'm sure at that time, they probably gave her a little bit of what they called their pure heroin, and she went home, and her mother lived with her and her husband. And she didn't get up the next morning, and she was going through a bad year and calling off of work, and she worked in the children's thing. She was I forget, but she worked in Erie. She had a good job, $20 an hour doing stuff. And she and had a bad year and had that breakdown and was getting help. Well, her mother kept walking by. Well, she noticed she hadn't moved. But here she passed away at 31 years old because she had to make a choice between getting mental health help and help for that addiction she had. And she was a very naive young girl in that type of addiction to turn to that stuff. And she had no idea what that white stuff was. And it's under investigation in Erie. And this happened May 16th of last year. And I have talked to many Suboxone doctors. I called the head program. I can't seem to get the head person, whoever that is. And I just wonder, why are we not allowing this program to work together at our mental health? And why are they taking people off their medications when they find out they're on it? That's what I would like looked into.
I'm very sorry to hear your experience. I can't speak to why your niece was given a choice of choosing one or the other. Suboxone program is required to have a therapy component with it. It comes back to the individual provider. If the provider chooses not to offer the Suboxone treatment, it is their choice. We know that most addiction issues stem from some type of mental health condition. I don't know if they're looking to treat the addiction prior to looking at the mental health, but
The combination would be well.
I would agree with that.
Perhaps we need more awareness in the county. I know that there is a lot of stigma with people that have turned to methamphetamines, heroin. They're often made fun of on public sites and everything like that. And unfortunately, we do have quite a number of people that have done that. And some of them are in recovery who also join in on these areas, but perhaps some awareness would be wonderful.
I've been making phone calls.
Yeah,
so.
and that's wonderful that you're advocating for her.
Very good. Was there any other public comment pertaining to the ordinance before us? Hearing none, I'd ask to adjourn. Motion?
Make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. All right, thank you very much. We will call the Commissioners' meeting for September 25th to order. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and the following in silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being recorded. Anything said in it will become part of public's record and posted on the county's YouTube channel in the near future. Since the last meeting, I don't believe the commissioners have had any executive sessions that I can think of. Mayor, very good. Any correspondence? Very good. I will be asking you to sign a letter of support for a RCAP application the Northwest Commission will be putting through. So it's just a general announcement. On the agenda today, we have several proclamations, ordinances discussed, and EMS Task Force resolution and appointments, as well as an award for demolition of structures. Is there any other public comment that does not pertain to what's already on the agenda? And please raise your hand, be recognized, state your name and the municipality that you're from. Very good, hearing none. Did I miss anything on the agenda? Do the minutes of September 11th need your approval? Fiscal report.
You have the finance report in front of you. The only pretty much standard as it had been for the last few months. We should be getting the vast majority of our tax receipts in the next 2 weeks. And just with a big wire we have coming out and a few other payroll and some other timing issues, I'd like, instead of borrowing from the TAN, I'd like to borrow from the Erie Savings Account for a couple weeks. Instead of having to borrow and paying interest on the TAN, I'd like to just transfer money from the savings account instead.
Okay, it'll be returned within.
It'll be returned in, like, as soon as the tax receipts come in mid-month.
I don't have a problem with that by the end of October. Would be
Oh, yeah,
reasonable.
definitely.
Commissioners, any comment? No problem.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Proclamations. There are 5 of them on the agenda today. The first one is for Fire Prevention Week, which I will read. And Commissioner Eggleston, would you please read the National Disability, and Commissioner Morrison, 4-H. Whereas the County of Warren is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all of those living in and visiting Warren County. Whereas U.S. fire departments responded to an average of 1.3 million fires per year during 2017. These fires resulted in 3,400 civilian deaths, 14,670 injuries, and $23 billion in direct damage, which includes a cost of $10 billion for the North Carolina wildfires. Whereas, on average, 7 people die in U.S. home fires per day, with cooking being the leading cause of home fires and home fire injuries, and smoking being the leading cause of home fires deaths for decades. Whereas newer homes are built with lightweight material that burn faster than old home constructions, and whereas many of today's products and furnishings produce toxic gases and smoke when burned, making it impossible to see and breathe within moments. Whereas these conditions contribute to a smaller window of time for people to escape a home safely, with people having as little as 1 to 2 minutes to escape from the time the smoke alarm sounds. And whereas a home fire escape plan provides the skill set and know-how to quickly and safely escape a home fire situation. A home fire escape plan includes 2 exits from every room in the home, a path to the outside from each exit, smoke alarms in all required locations, and a meeting place outside where everyone in the home will meet up upon exiting. And whereas home fire escape plans should be developed by all members of the household, whereas Warren County's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education, and whereas Warren County residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes, and whereas the 2019 Fire Prevention Week theme is Plan and Practice Your Escape, effectively serves to educate the public about the vital importance of developing a home fire escape plan with all members of the household and practicing it twice a year. Therefore, we, the Commissioners of Warren County, do proclaim October 6th through the 12th as Fire Prevention Week throughout the county, and we urge all the people of Warren County to develop a home fire escape plan with all members of the household and practice it twice a year, and to participate in the many public safety activities and efforts of Warren County's Fire and Emergency Services during Fire Prevention Week 2019. Any comment?
Good idea.
Very good. Any public comment? Ma'am? Mrs. Spicer, was it?
Yes, Ashley Spicer. When I worked for the corporation Lowe's, there was a family that passed away from carbon monoxide poisoning. And them as a business donated detectors to the community. Is there any drives or anything going forth at this point that would help low-income families, or also families with disabled persons who perhaps have oxygen tanks, CPAP machines, disabled elderly people who may not be able to escape. Also, anyone that is perhaps deaf, blind, to have certain measures of safety, such as you see in group homes, fire alarms that have lights that let them know red is, fire, and to escape. And also would that the group homes in those areas, nursing homes, be in with the fire prevention week as well?
They all have plans that are kept at our.
Yes, it's like a monthly thing, but are they on your agenda as commissioners?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by that?
I mean, will they be participating in the week with you?
I'm not sure, but I can tell you that annually they have to review their plans and keep them at our 911 center off-site locations, so that they all have dedicated plans. And speaking to the Lowe's aspect and the detectors, they have been giving them out at our annual public safety fair, which Lowe's has been a fantastic partner for the last 3 or 4 years. And they have been passing out the detectors at the time. The other thing I would add would be that if there's a citizen concern that they don't have or not able to afford a detector, I would encourage them to talk to their local fire department. At least my fire department, I know we have several, and we have willing members that would go help install it and like do a walkthrough and help figure out a plan. So I would encourage them to talk to their local fire departments.
Thank you. That's very wonderful and informative.
Very good. Any other public comment? And I would ask Commissioner Eggleston to read the National Disability Employment Awareness Month proclamation. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just to add, if you're aware of somebody who is in a wheelchair or has a disability that's unable to evacuate a home, if you contact your local fire department, they are very willing to come and look at the home, see the home, meet the individual. So if in case of a fire, they are able to assist that individual in leaving. And it's also specific for anyone with autism. They would shut their sirens off, those types of things.
And we can actually now track that kind of special activity or a special need within our computer-aided dispatch system, so that our dispatchers are able to tell the fire department about it before they arrive on scene. Mr. Scully, did you have a comment as well?
Yes, we had a little incident in my township. A lady came to our meeting and was explaining the situation in the middle of winter, saying her private road was icy. And she saw no need to call 911 to ask for assistance. And one of our assistant chiefs in our department explained to her at that meeting that for those who don't think they should call 911, they are to call 911, state their issue, and the fire department will be notified, and they will get there if they have to walk to your thing. They respond in Glade especially to all 911 incidents, and they will get there. But some people have it in their head, in inclement weather, there's no sense of calling 911. Please, of those who know that, please tell them 911 and the individual fire departments throughout this county will respond if they have to walk to the situation.
Certainly. Very good. Commissioner Eggleston.
This is a proclamation for National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Whereas workplaces welcoming of the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community and strong economy. In this spirit, the Warren County Commissioners recognize National Disability Employment Awareness Month this October to raise awareness about disability employment issues and celebrate the many and varied contributions of people with disabilities. Activities during this month will reinforce the value and talent people with disabilities add to our workplaces and communities and affirm Warren County's commitment to an inclusive community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the County Commissioners of Warren County, do hereby proclaim October 2019 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month In doing so, we call upon employers, schools, and other community organizations in Warren County to observe this month with appropriate programs and activities, and to advance its important message that people with disabilities are equal to the task throughout the year. And just wanted to draw attention to the collaboration that we've had ongoing with Bollinger Enterprises and other organizations in order to integrate persons with disabilities into the workforce of the county. We have a comprehensive cleaning program that they're involved in. They also run a car wash out of our warehouse, and I think that since we've implemented that program, it's created a really positive reaction within the county, and many of the people that work here enjoy seeing everybody from BEI come through, and I know for me there have been many days where I maybe wasn't having a good day, and I walked out and talked to a few of the folks, and it put a smile on my face and forgot why I was frustrated. So I'm really glad that we got involved with it, and I would encourage everyone else to think about it.
Good, thank you. Any commissioners' comments? Very good. Commissioner Morrison?
Honoring 4-H members and volunteers. Whereas 4-H is a nationwide, non-formal education program led by state land-grant universities through cooperative extension offices, volunteers, and members who are committed to making the best better. And whereas 4-H inspires members to pledge their heads to clearer thinking, hearts to greater loyalty, hands to larger service, and health to better living for their club, community, county, country, and world. And whereas Warren County, Pennsylvania 4-H program now has 50+ volunteers and over 300 members. And whereas 4-H remains an investment in youth, the greater resources of all our communities, spurring members and their families to make worthwhile contributions to citizens of Pennsylvania and this nation. And whereas the program addresses issues facing youth wherever they live, and challenges them to learn by doing while building self-esteem and focusing on critical issues. And whereas through more than a century of existence, Pennsylvania's 4-H program has reached hundreds of thousands of youth throughout educational and developmental programs that have contributed significantly to the quality of life for these young people and their families. And whereas by empowering members to make the best better, 4-H effectively shapes the youth of today into the leaders of tomorrow. Therefore, in recognition and commendation of 4-H for its continuing service to the residents of the county, we, the Commissioners of Warren County, do hereby commend and encourage all citizens to celebrate the contributions of members, leaders, and volunteers, and their commitment to the future of Pennsylvania agriculture. And I'll speak to this. 4-H has been in our community for decades now. We have a great volunteer force for 4-H. We have wonderful volunteers who dedicate hours and most of their lives actually to these volunteer groups. They spend countless hours with the youth of our communities and are to be commended for that. We have a lot of excellent 4-H groups in our county. And I commend all the leaders, all the 4-H members for all their efforts. And of course it comes to a big culmination at the end of the year with our Warren County Fair. And they're judged on their efforts throughout the year. And I take pride in knowing that I was part of that in my past, and I commend them. So thank you.
We'll take public comment at the end. Let's get through the rest of the proclamations. Commissioner Nicholson, could you read the National Bullying?
National Bullying Prevention Month. Whereas bullying is physical, verbal, sexual, and emotional harm or intimidation intentionally directed at a person or group of people. Bullying occurs in neighborhoods, playgrounds, schools, and through technologies such as the internet and cell phones. And various researchers have concluded that bullying is the most common form of violence affecting millions of American children and adolescents annually. And targets of bullying are more likely to acquire physical, emotional, and learning problems than those who are not bullied. And students who are repeatedly bullied often fear such activities as riding the bus, going to school, and attending community activities. And children who bully are at greater risk of engaging in more serious violent behaviors, and children who witness bullying often feel less secure, more fearful, and intimidated. Direct support professionals, including direct care workers, personal attendant, in-home support workers, and paraprofessionals, are the primary providers of long-term support and services for millions of individuals with disabilities. Now, therefore, we, the Warren County Commissioners of Warren County, do hereby proclaim October 20, 2019 as Bullying Prevention Month in Warren County.
Any commissioner comments?
Just say that this is a really important proclamation. I think that I recall a couple years ago having a conversation with my family and had everybody in the room raise their hand who really loved high school. And the room was pretty split. There were people that were shocked, and people had terrible high school experiences. And when you had conversations with them about those experiences, I mean, the stories were pretty terrible. And that can affect your whole outlook on life, frankly. And I don't think that we think maybe enough about it. You know, I had a friend of mine from grade school who passed away and was the subject of bullying. They committed their own life, and I think that part of it was a direct result of the treatment that they received at the hands of other kids and other folks who maybe didn't understand their issues. And so it's something that we really need to continuously have a conversation about and try to encourage our children and our youth and everybody to try to think more openly and also to try to prevent bullying at every turn, you know, and try to encourage people to work out the differences. Because at the time it might seem like horseplay, but there's times where it's serious and it can cause serious irreparable damage. So that's fine.
Good. All right, the last proclamation is in commemoration of the county's bicentennial. Whereas October 1st, 2019 marks the 200th anniversary of the creation of Warren County as a separate and distinct political subdivision, and it is fitting to recognize the County of Warren on the occasion of this special milestone. And whereas the county's namesake, Revolutionary War General Joseph Warren, was killed at the Battle of Bunker Hill on June 17, 1775, fighting as a private in spite of his rank, and whereas in 1792 an act of the Pennsylvania legislature set aside land for the town of Warren, the surveying was done in 1795 by General William Irvin, after whom Irvin, Pennsylvania is named. Whereas the legislature created 8 new counties, including Warren County in 1800. However, for tax purposes, the 5 new counties in the northwestern part of the state were merged together as Crawford County, with Meadville as the county seat. And whereas Warren was removed from Crawford County in 1805 and added to Venango County, in 1808, the Court of Common Pleas in Franklin approved Warren County's first municipalities, Broken Straw and Conowongo Townships, which made up the whole of the county. And whereas the Pennsylvania General Assembly enacted legislation on March 16, 1819 to organize the provisional county of Warren for judicial purposes, and whereas the General Assembly proclaimed the following: be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in General Assembly met, and it is hereby enacted by the authority of the same, that from and after the first day of October next, the inhabitants of the county of Warren shall enjoy all in singular the jurisdictions, powers, rights, liberties, and privileges whatsoever within the same which the inhabitants of any other counties of this state do, may, or ought to enjoy by the laws and constitution of the Commonwealth. Whereas the city of Warren has been the seat of the county since its founding, and the current Warren County Courthouse, a National Register of Historic Places site, was initially constructed in 1876-77 and added to in 1912 and 2004. Therefore, we, the Commissioners of Warren County, do proclaim October 1st, 2019 as the 200th anniversary of Warren County, Pennsylvania, and urge all citizens to reflect on the rich heritage of the county and to participate in a bicentennial commemoration planned for October 5th at noon on the steps of the Warren County Courthouse. I wanted to give my special thanks to Josh Cotton from the newspaper and Pam Matvey, our chief clerk, for, first of all, serving on a committee to make that October 5th event possible, as well as authoring this proclamation. Thank you. With that, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda, the minutes from September 11th, the fiscal report, and the 5 proclamations.
Before I move to approve that, or move to make a motion, I do have one question on the financial report from Eric. What's the amount that you'll be borrowing from the Erie Bank account?
Between $300,000 and $400,000. I'd like to talk to the treasurer about the timing of a couple of these things that we've got coming out.
Okay, thank you.
Do we hear a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion from the board? Any public comment? All those in favor of the motion, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. There's no old business on the agenda. Is there-
Pause.
Oh, I'm sorry, you want to take pictures? Is there anyone that wants to take pictures related to fire prevention? National Disability Employment Month? Okay. Honoring 4-H, National Bullying Prevention.
Come on,
We're good. Do you want a picture, Jeff? Sure.
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
I can stay.
That was for
It doesn't
bullying.
matter.
yeah, for bullying.
Yeah, we have a couple.
Let's at least
Yeah,
take
we
the
can
bullying
stay. Fine.
picture
Get your
then.
music.
Come on.
Well,
You're not alone. Well, we
You
did.
guys stop and eat.
Yeah, we do. So we'll just stand in a line right here. We're gonna, this is what we do. So we're all together.
That's all she told me, I don't know her name.
St. Joe's.
I just remember.
Nice to meet you.
Should I do the photographer today?
Want somebody else? Okay.
Yeah.
You just hold it. It'll be fine.
All right.
Your fingers over that. That last one.
All right, there we go. Good picture.
He's a lawyer now, sorry.
I take lessons from my kids.
Not a problem.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Thanks.
Thank you again. On Monday, we opened bids for the demolition of structures using CDBG money. Fox and Sons was the one of the two bids that we received. It was significantly lower than the others, the other one. Commissioner Eggleston or
Yeah, I can speak to it. So, this is something we've been laboring on for several months now in order to address more blighted properties in the county. There's definitely a concern over the number of blighted properties. We regularly have town hall meetings where this has come up as a topic. So we try to come up with different ways in order to address it more efficiently. In this case, we've authorized both CDBG funds but also Act 15 funds in order to get more properties into a pool and then demo them as a whole. The goal is to have one bid for all the properties and thereby lowering the cost for each individual property. Previous to this, the RDA would bid out each individual property, and the costs would be astronomical, which would drain funds and fewer properties would get demoed. In this case, it worked out the way that we had intended. The overall bid for Fox and Sons was $35,500, which overall for us to do it in bulk is significantly less. I would say we were I don't want to say what we were anticipating just because I don't want anybody to get the idea of what the limit would have been, but this is significantly lower than what we would have if we had done each property individually. So this is a very good bid, very excited to have these 4 properties demoed. The 2, especially in Clarendon, are we consider hazards to the community, and especially the one in Tidiu, which was burnt down a while ago. And I think that'll be really wonderful to get that one off the books too. So.
We're good. Any more discussion from the board? I have a motion to approve the bid.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made, seconded. Any discussion or public comment? Mr. Scully?
Did I hear you correctly, Mr. Eggleston, that Fox Brothers,
Fox and Sons, yes.
Fox and Son for 35,
$35,500 for the 4
For
properties.
the 4,
Yeah.
and that was the lowest of the 2 bids or 3 bids.
Yeah, the second bid was for $44,000.
Before, that's what I've done. Thank you for doing that, and I'm sure the communities, being that I sit on the RDA, and the committees that, or the towns and townships that are hoping those buildings get destroyed would be highly appreciative, because they all are dangerous to the community, in my opinion.
Good, thank you. Any other comments? Very good. All those in favor of the motion, which is to accept the bid from Fox and Sons for $35,500, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda is Ordinance 2 for this year, which would be the approval of the intergovernmental agreement for DHS and this ordinance. Any other comments that you wanted to add at this point in time? Very good. We're doing a motion to approve the ordinance and the agreement.
So moved.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion from the board. Any further public comment?
I'd just like to thank Rana and Attorney Johnson and then also the 23 counties, well, I shouldn't say all 20, there are a lot of folks that have taken a leadership role on this. The contract is up, and that's why they're taking this initiative, and it'll allow for more local control, which I think is really important. And I really thank them for their leadership on this to try to push for that.
Thank you. No further comment, public question. All those in favor of both the ordinance number 2 and approving the IGA, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, resolution for the EMS task force. I anticipated reading this, but as we're running low on time, this resolution 3146 is the creation of the Warren County Emergencies Medical Services Task Force. We had talked to this resolution in a work session in August with Chief Wren from the City of Fire and Nancy Freenock. And this is kind of akin to the other task forces that we've created over the last couple of years. It does not authorize any direct expenditures except staff time. This would allow the chief clerk and or other clerk staff to work on behalf of the task force as well as the county solicitor to provide legal advice. The task force would be subject to open records and such as it is an official county government task force. And the purpose is to create a prioritized list of recommendations to municipalities, EMS agencies, and other stakeholders in an effort to ascertain EMS needs and solutions to the pre-hospital care crisis on a countywide basis and report back to the commissioners by April 15th of 2020. Any questions? Could I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Any public comment?
Just like to thank Commissioner Catherine for his leadership on this, for spearheading what has been a long-needed effort to try to go after and address the various issues that are common in rural communities, and certainly we're no exception in challenges we have with volunteership, having volunteer firefighters and EMS responders, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them work on this and come up with a positive solution. So thank you, Commissioner Catherine.
My pleasure, and thank you very much. The EMS Council is one of the significant players. I should add that, well, two things. First of all, this is not directly the county's responsibility to deal with, in the sense that municipalities are the ones that are responsible for fire and EMS. However, the problem is countywide, in fact statewide and even nationwide, and we've been asked by the COG Fire Services to create this in order to help convene. One of the problems that we've had is that there is an EMS plan in place that was passed, I believe, 2 years ago, and it's not being followed. We've had meetings in this room of all EMS agencies, and the problem is you just have too many people with too many ideas, and so the idea is to have a few select leaders from COG Fire Services, the Fire Services Committee, the EMS Council, County DPS, etc. And the idea would be to take all of those ideas from the various agencies and combine them into one cohesive document. certainly not meaning to push any idea on a volunteer agency or anything. It's simply to take these ideas and put it in one cohesive document. So, the motion was made and seconded. All those in favor of the EMS task force, please state aye.
Aye.
Good, thank you. Motion carries. And the next thing I would like to do is make some recommendations for who should serve on that task force. I would like to serve on that. Dr. Joseph Akis from the hospital, I think would definitely make a lot of sense. Greg Triscutt serves at both the Glade Volunteer Fire Department and the city. Phil Wilson from Emergicare, Jim Savinsky from Emergicare and the EMS Council, Joe Scully from Glade Township, Chief Rodney Wren from the city, Mr. Rich Barrett, I believe he is with Russell VFD and is also the Fire Services Chair, Paul Pascuzzi from Clarendon VFD, Clarendon Volunteer Fire Department, and the borough, and he's also the chair of the Fire Services Committee. Ms. Lisa Hagberg from Youngsville Borough, Amy Jones from Clarendon VFD, Chief Brian Bull from Garland, Dave Tipton from Pleasant, Director Ken McCorrison from Public Safety, Mr. Andy Brooks from Pleasant Township, Ms. Wendy Bosson from Youngsville Fire Department, and Ms. Joyce Strickland. Any questions, recommendations?
I would like to make a quick correction to Dr. Joseph. It's AKIF, A-K-I-F.
You're absolutely right. I even caught that before. Thank you. Anything else? I would ask for a motion to approve these members of the task force.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Last comment from me about this would be, this list is not necessarily complete. We'll probably be bringing more names and or subcommittee names to the board later on. Any public comment? All those in favor of these appointments, please state aye.
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 Motion carries. Personnel transaction report, there are a couple of changes. 3 hires were made in the jail since our last meeting, all at the rate of $13.93 an hour for a part-time corrections officer. That was Megan Evans, effective on the 11th, Jacob Kowalski on the 13th, and June Hoover on the 16th. 2 corrections officers left the jail. One was Kim Lockerbie on the 10th and Taylor Peterson on the 13th. We also hired a supports coordinator at Human Services effective on the 20th, and that was Mike Lindell. Excuse me, he left the jail, or Human Services, I'm sorry. Could I have a motion to ratify the personnel transaction report?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any other commissioner comments? Final call for public comments. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Yes.